Thank you everyone for coming. Welcome to our first ever Rural Journey speaker series, presented by both Rural Reimagined and TAB, the Tech Activities Board at Tennessee Tech. I'm very excited. So my name is Kester Nucum. I'm the president of the student club, the Rural Reimagined Club here at Tennessee Tech. And I'm very excited to be presenting and moderating this Rural Journeys event. As a little bit of a short intro, this speaker series was created as a way to bring in community advocates, students, faculty, community leaders, entrepreneurs from both local Cookeville and possibly even beyond to just share their journey. So more casual, more informal kind of just conversation, as we like to put it. And so essentially, the goal of this event is for our students and as well as, people in the community, just learn more about the many, many opportunities there are to just go and delve deeper into rural advocacy. So we're very excited that you're all here. And so I'm going to introduce our guest speakers today. So we have a small little panel. So our first panelist is Becky Magura. She is the president and CEO of WCTE, has been there for almost 40 years, right?
Right.
And she's such amazing. When I met you last week, you were so nice and so kind, welcoming. So thank you for that, Becky. And she's also a tech alum as well. So we're very excited to have Becky on board. And on the other side, we have Dawson Davidson. He is currently a sophomore ag business management student, also a local TV personality and celebrity here in Cookeville. And he has been doing amazing things. He's a nationally recognized poultry farmer. Is that correct? And is currently serving as a rep on the Student Government Association, has been very involved on campus. So we're very excited to have Dawson on board as well.
Yay!
So we're just going to start off with just a big question. So obviously this is the Rural Journey speaker series. So my first question for, I guess we'll start with Becky, is what has been your rural journey to where you are today?
Well, I'll just start. Thanks so much, Kester. And we had a great time with you coming on our television series Live at 5. And we've been fortunate here at WCTE, a PBS station serving our Central Tennessee region, to have Dawson Davidson. He's been on quite a bit, actually. And we always look forward to really being able to host local talent. And, I think that's really how my rural journey started. I'm a Cookeville native. I went to elementary school at Jerry Whitson Elementary, which is, if you don't know Cookeville, Jerry Whitson is on the corner. It's on Jerry Whitson, which is on the corner. I grew up on the corner of Dixie and Jerry Whitson. So I literally grew up within, I would say, the shadow of the university. But my family, they were really hard working people, but they didn't really have an opportunity to go to college. And so I was a first generation college student. And my parents really, really wanted me to go to college, and they really sacrificed for me to be able to do that. And I loved Cookeville. So it was great to have an opportunity to go to Tennessee Tech. And I grew up about tech, obviously. I would, a little known fact is when I was probably, 11, my cousin and I rode our bicycles from my house up to Tech, and we snuck in the Memorial Gym to watch the Four Seasons in concert. My brother had gone there for homecoming, and you all wouldn't know who that is, but it was a pretty big deal for a kid. And we snuck up and got up in the balcony and watched part of the concert, and then rode our bikes back home. So Tech's always had a really wonderful place in my heart. And so my journey's really interesting. I had people who believed in me, first my parents and my grandparents, and people who really encouraged me to pursue a higher education. But I started in education. So my degrees, I have 2 degrees from Tech, BS and a master's in education. And while I was going to Tech, my senior year, um, the theater professor at Tech, Jerry Henderson, left to go be the theater director at Pepperdine in Malibu, California. And I was a big theater person, even though I wasn't a theater major. I did a lot of theater in junior high and high school and college. And he called several of his students and said, "Hey, you should check out graduate school out here. They're giving a lot of great scholarships to kids from the rural South, and you ought to check it out." So I actually, Cindy Putman, who was my best friend in high school and college, she and I went out there and I looked at going to graduate school in communications, because what I knew I wanted to do was sort of take what I had learned in theater and combine it with education. And so, ironically, what I was really interested in was combining communications and education. And he got me an appointment with the dean of the Graduate School of Communications at Pepperdine. It was true, I could get a really great scholarship. And when I got back to Tech, my graduate, I was going to be a graduate assistant for my main professor, Dr. Mary Ayers. And she called me in and said, "Hey, did you go visit another school during break?" And I said, "Well, yes, because here's what I want to do. And Tech doesn't have this degree. I know they don't have what I'm looking for, and I really want to combine these two to do something different." And she said, "Well, did you know they're opening a PBS station up here?" And I went, "They're not opening a PBS station up in Cookeville." And she goes, "Yes, they really are." And I've already been talking to Dean Quattlebaum. Rebecca Quattlebaum was the dean of the graduate school at Tech. And she said, "Dean Quattlebaum and I will agree for you to do your coursework at that station. Normally, you would do your practicum or your thesis in a school setting as a graduate in the College of Education. But what they offered for me was to literally start my career, which is what I did. And I actually did it because you were right. It was 40 years ago this fall that I walked in the door of WCTE, which was a full-fledged PBS station. At the time, it was in the stadium of Tech, and the equipment wasn't even hooked up. When I walked in the door, the equipment still was being hooked up. My professor walked me in the door, and this is an important part of my rural journey. She walked in, Dr. Ayers walked in, she introduced me to the general manager, CEO of the station, Richard Castle, and she goes, "This is Becky Robertson." That was my maiden name. "This is Becky Robertson, and she is here to be your student intern. And she's going to learn everything there is to learn about television. And she will teach you everything there is to learn about education. And she's not going to make your coffee, and she's not going to sweep your floors. She is here to learn television." And that was really important, because what you have to realize, this was 1980. It was a time when women were still fighting a lot for rights. And it gave me an opportunity to know right from the beginning, she had my back. They were great. Richard Castle and his wife Donna were so engaged in the station, and all of the people that I met and worked with and continued working with decade after decade were so awesome and such great professionals. And what I was able to do here at this really small rural station, but a station that's part of a great big, infrastructure of PBS, was something that I probably could never have gotten if I'd gone to Pepperdine, and something that I would never have gotten at a big station, because literally I got to learn how to do everything. Everything there is to do at a station, I was able to learn to do that. And that's how I've been able to transition up. I went from being the intern to the audio technician to the director of educational services to the station manager, and then ultimately to the CEO. And it's been an incredible path. I've served on the national PBS board. I've served on a number of national committees and all representing small rural stations. I'm currently on the Small Station Association board, and I love it. I love it. I could not have found a better career for me, and I love the fact that public media is the public's TV, and that we truly are, for many children, their very first preschool, and for many people, we are the place, the last locally governed media that tells our own local stories. So I just think that, I could have gone anywhere in the world and not found a place that I would be happier than WCTE and Cookeville and Tennessee Tech. So that's my rural journey at this point.
That is so awesome to hear. Thank you so much for sharing that. It definitely, for those that aren't really familiar with Cookeville, Becky has been very instrumental over the past 40 years in, providing education, broadcasting, you name it, to the residents of not just Putnam County, but the 14 area of county service regions of the Upper Cumberland. So thank you so much for all of your hard work service, and I'm very glad to have gotten connected with you now last week. So. Oh, you're on mute.
Okay, we're going to get you back on, Kester. You're really good on TV, so.
Thank you. It was very fun. I loved it. Now, being on TV, now we're going to flip on to Dawson Davidson. So Dawson, could you now tell us about your rural story?
Absolutely. Can everyone hear me well?
Yes.
Good. Well, my name is Dawson Davidson. I'm a sophomore agriculture business management major at Tennessee Tech. As Kester said, I am the public relations director for Tennessee Tech student government, and I'm a part of Rural Reimagined. But my journey in agriculture and rural journey started way back in elementary school. I've always lived in a rural part of Cookeville. I'm from Cookeville, born and raised. And I was always in 4-H, and 4-H really guided me just to become involved in agriculture. We had animals at my house. I never really was a animal husbandry management kind of person as a young person, but as I grew in 4-H and FFA, that really guided me. But I was in 4-H, and it was a really great opportunity for me just to learn how to be a part of agriculture and see what I could dip my toes into. So as I built myself up, when I went to Capshaw Elementary School, which is in Cookeville, I was in 4-H, and then I went to Prescott South, which is a STEM school. And Prescott, at the time that I was there as a 5th grader, was a new STEM school. So it was a really great opportunity. A lot of Capshaw kids in Cookeville go to Avery Trace, but my mom, she thought we lived closer to Prescott. It was a new STEM school. Let's give it a shot. So I went to Prescott, could not have been happier. Casey Garrison, who really was instrumental in building STEM, she's going to be a speaker on this series, I believe, soon. Me and her got connected, and she really launched me as far as my middle school career could go. I was a part of 4-H in middle school. I competed in livestock judging, poultry judging, a lot of big competitions I was very successful at. And the STEM school really gave me the opportunity to build up my momentum. At Prescott South, I created the Ag Club, which is now part of their LEAPS program, which involves all the kids that stay for LEAPS to be a part of agriculture. We first off started with bird feeders, and it just built as that went along, and now there's greenhouses, and we had chickens on Prescott's campus, and it was fabulous. So as I left Prescott, I went to Cookeville High School, and I knew in Cookeville High School I wanted to be on TV as my career. As I was leaving Prescott South as an 8th grader, I was beginning to get into chickens. And chickens, little did I know, would be so instrumental to my career. I found P. Allen Smith on the TV on PBS, and he's lovely. He's a male Martha Stewart from the South figure who instructs you on how to be involved in agriculture, but also do, life things like setting the table, cooking, cleaning, that kind of thing, which is right up my alley. And as I got connected with P. Allen Smith, I started knowing about exhibition poultry. Through that, seeing him show the chickens on the TV and his experience, I thought, okay, I can be good at this. One, I was in 4-H, I did poultry judging. I know a little bit about chickens, but I also am very competitive. And I was never into sports, but I wanted to win. So I said, let me find something that I could do that I could be good at. So I actually was living in a subdivision and they wouldn't let me have chickens. And this was at Prescott. So at that time, we had just moved, and the house that we moved into came with a barn and chicken tractors with the purchase of the home. And it was just fate. So we got 200 chickens. We got a little carried away. Now I know quality over quantity is the better bet, but we got chickens and they were everywhere, and I started building up my resume. As a freshman at Cookeville High School, I was involved in a lot of FFA events, and through my FFA career, I was the first inaugural Bullpen winner, which is a Shark Tank-based entrepreneurship business idea pitch competition. I also was involved in job interview. I did my poultry through there. And in high school, my rural journey really picked up a lot of steam. I was working with WCTE frequently just because I had got connected with Becky and Brent, who's another worker at WCTE, as well as Daniel. And Daniel and I, who is a producer at WCTE, thought about producing some kind of show involved with chickens. So we worked on that, and that launched me into the agriculture position I'm in today. Just because of the chickens, I'm a 4-time National American Poultry Association title holder. Most of my chickens are now living retired because I'm in college. They're having to take the back burner. But my rural journey has many curves as I've matured, and hopefully it's just the beginning of that journey.
That's awesome to hear. And as a side note, yes, Casey Garrison is one of our speakers I was very excited that you said about Prescott South, because I met her this summer and she was amazing
Yes.
to talk to. So very glad that we're having her on. And I'll say that more about the speaker series event next at the end of our meeting. But that's really awesome to hear. And I guess the big question I have for the both of y'all is, what kind of called you to, like, what drew you to TV as your way of not of serving, our community? Like what prompted you to start your career essentially in television and broadcasting?
Well, I'll start, and then I'd love for Dawson to chime in. I know when I was in college, I worked part-time at WHUV Radio. So I got involved in working at the radio first, and also worked at WTTU, the college radio station. I, in addition, worked at a daycare. So when I worked at a daycare in the afternoon after getting out of class, I noticed that it was very interesting when the children watched television. And when they watched public television, in particular, if Sesame Street came on or Mr. Rogers came on, their behavior was